Hello everyone and welcome to an episode of Melyn Talks. Today I'm going to be talking about Season 8 Zyra, alright? So there's a ton of new stuff that happened in the last patch 7.22, and a lot of people are asking me about it, and so I finally decided to make a video. I haven't made a video in a long time. You know, I'm busy with work, and in what free time I do have, I spend streaming, trying to not suck, and so for this, I finally realized that I have to make a video about it. So here it goes, okay? It's going to be very long. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible while including as much information as possible. If you want some TLDW, you can check below the video. I'm going to be updating my guide later this week, and I will have links to the spreadsheet that I use, as well as any other resources that, that I decide to add after the fact, all right? So hang in there. Welcome to a very long video. All right, so the big thing, and by far the majority of the time spent on this video, is going to be talking about runes reforged, okay? So we're losing runes and masteries, and we're gaining this new kind of combination of them, okay? And a lot of things are going to change because of that. You know, previously we had a big focus on magic penetration, and then we'd get our defensive stats from the runes if we ran them at all, but now it's kind of all going together into this runes reforged. So there's going to be a lot more variance. I think you're not really going to be running one page over and over again. You should be running a lot of different runes against different champions, against different team comps, with different team comps. So it's very important to be aware of all your options. So hopefully we're going to be able to go through that. That being said, if you don't want to think that much, if you don't have the time to think that much, if you just want to play a game of League of Legends, check below the video for just, some quick, here, you can go this, hey, you can go this. And also the spreadsheet will cover that stuff as well. So without further ado, let's start talking about these runes, all right? So I'm going to go through all of our options first. This video is intended for people who don't know anything about runes reforged. If you already know stuff, you can check the timestamps below the video and skip to the part that you're interested in, all right? So I'm going to go through some of the runes that are relevant to Zyra. So for example, Resolve is the first tree. There are 5 trees. I'm not going to talk about Resolve. As Zyra, you should not be getting any of these skills, so I'm just going to skip over them. This video is purely focused on Zyra. So if you want to learn about what you're playing against, go somewhere else. You can stay here too, but it's not going to help you. All right, so we're going to start with Domination. All right, Domination is a tree that is, for burst damage primarily. It looks all right, but let's get into it, actually. I'm not going to do too much prep work since we're a bit low on time. So there's a keystone, and then there are 3 sets of secondaries. So the keystone here is either Electrocute, Predator, and Dark Harvest. I'm going to ignore Predator. That's not something for us. Electrocute is basically Thunderlord's Decree, okay? But they changed it. It is now much more of a burst, much more of a skill where it's like, I'm trying to kill you, as opposed to a poke skill. It's more a poke skill right now, I feel. Or at least for Zyra. So that's being changed. It has not bad scaling, 30% ability power ratio, and the damage is very good. So it feels very satisfying when you're trying to burst someone down with Electrocute. The downside, and why I'm not going to recommend running it very often, is the cooldown is very, very long. So it is not very helpful for poking. It is primarily a burst thing, okay? And it functions just like Thunderlords, except it's not AoE anymore. So that's basically it. Dark Harvest is something else that I think is very interesting, depending on how they end up balancing the numbers. So essentially what happens is when a champion, a large minion, or a large monster dies, it drops a soul, kind of like Thresh Souls or the ancient coin thing. And if you pick one up, then for 20 seconds, your next basic attack deals a large amount of damage. And the more souls you collect, the more damage it does. And eventually, if you collect enough of them, then it lasts for 5 minutes. So basically, it just adds a little extra burst to your combo in the mid and late game. So I think this could potentially be very good as Zyra. The problem is right now I don't think the numbers are high enough as it stands now to warrant going it really ever, okay? But it's something to be aware of. So next up on the on the Keystone Masteries, we're just going to go through all the Keystones first, is the Precision Tree. Now, the Precision Tree is interesting because it's meant for 80 carries, okay? But one of the interesting things is that it's not awful, I think, for Zyra mid under certain circumstances. So this may be terrible, but that's what this video is for. This video is for me to, you know, explain what I think about all this stuff. All right, so let's look at this. Fleet Footwork, okay? Attacking and moving builds energy stacks. At 100 stacks, your next attack is energized, kind of like Static Shiv, Luden's. No, more like Static Shiv because it's only basic attacks, not skills, okay? And what happens when you're energized is it heals you, and it scales off of AP, and gives you movement speed for a second, okay? So this is actually very, very, very nice in a mid lane against champions with poke. If you're against a Xerath or a Ziggs, champions like this or a Zyra who are going to be poking you from far away, this is going to give you sustain and movement speed, which is really great. And the reason why I say this is a little troll is depending on what keystone you choose, you do get a path bonus. And this one is 18% attack speed. So you're missing out on about 20 AP, which is like the average for what you're getting from the other path bonuses for attack speed. So I don't know, maybe you'll build like Nash's Tooth, or maybe this is just troll, but it's potentially very interesting because this Fleet Footwork is very situationally useful mid lane against poke. So something to think about. Next up is sorcery. Is a very, very, we're gonna be talking a lot about sorcery masteries because they're very good for Zyra. All right, so again, starting off with Keystone, Summon Airy is kind of like a Pix thing with Lulu's little whatever it is, fairy thing. Again, it could work for Zyra, but you're not getting any of the shields and the numbers aren't high enough for damage, so let's skip. The big thing is Arcane Comet. Okay, this is going to likely be your big keystone that you're running almost all the time unless they change the numbers around. So basically, whenever you damage a champion with ability, a comet falls to the ground. It deals AoE damage. It can be dodged because there's a slight delay. But early game with low mobility and low movement speed, you're going to be hitting them quite a lot actually. And the more you attack somebody when it's on cooldown, the quicker it's going to come off cooldown. So not only is it good for poke with a low cooldown, but it's also good for team fighting. It's kind of like combining Deathfire Touch and combining the benefits of Deathfire Touch and Thunderlord's Decree into the same keystone, but just in next season as opposed to this season. So it's good for poke, it's good for damage over time, it's good for AoE damage. The only downside is it can be dodged. Of course, you know, if you land your snare, they're not going to be able to dodge the comet because they're going to be snared. So it has a lot of natural synergy with Zyra's kit. The damage is good. The scaling is all right. And it's overall just a great keystone to get as Zyra. So watch out for this. We're going to be talking about it a lot. The final keystones I want to talk about are Inspiration. This is kind of like the utility tree. You can see that the path bonus gives you extra durations on your potions and elixir, and it's going to basically be giving us ability power because we're not going to go with resolve or precision as our secondary trees. So again, going back to keystones, Unsealed Spellbook, we're not really going to be going this. I think it may be useful for cheese. It lets you swap out summoner spells, but I don't think it's probably worth it, sacrificing a keystone just for that little benefit. It's nice, but not as nice as everything else. Now, Glacial Augment and Kleptomancy are where we're going to be spending most of our time in the inspiration tree to talk about. Glacial Augment, to me, actually sounds very, very good, but I'm finding it hard to convince myself, having played and having played with this and the other ones, that it's worth it. So it's actually pretty cool because you can auto attack someone and it's going to slow them, and that slow increases. So theoretically, you can auto attack someone to slow them down to hit your spells, and has some kind of cool synergy with if you go Frost Queen's Claim, where the Frost Queen's going to make this like icy area that slows, and the area lasts for 5 seconds. So that's pretty cool too, I suppose. But yeah, it's a cool spell, but I don't really think I'm ever going to get it. Again, the problem with slowing things in general, like Rylai's and And this, I guess, is that your E already roots, your EW already slows, your ult already knocks up, so probably not that great, but it got me really excited. So that's why I'm gonna talk about it, because I'm curious to see how it changes over time. Kleptomancy is the really troll keystone of this patch, okay? It's ridiculous. It's fun, it's silly. The problem is it gets me killed a lot. So basically what it is you use an ability and then you attack, which is what you should be doing as Zyra anyway. And when you do that, you get gold and a random item, like a consumable. You can get health potions, you can get mana potions, which don't even exist anymore. You can get elixirs later on. You can get bags of gold, which have like 50 to 100 gold in them or something like that. It's like the ultimate lane keystone saying, hey, let's go. You're going to get gold. You're going to get stuff to stay in lane. The problem is I get 6 items very, very quickly. And once you get 6 items, you're not benefiting from this anymore. Again, also in the mid and late game, you're not auto-attacking really unless in team fights. So, you might get a potion in the middle of a fight, but it's probably not going to be as useful after the laning phase. So this is definitely a lane-focused skill, and you have to use your auto attack. So be very careful that you're not getting yourself killed when using it. So those are the big kind of keystones, and they're largely going to be deciding most of our runes and masteries. So I think it's wise to pick a keystone and then decide, okay, how am I doing the other runes, not masteries, runes based off of that keystone. All right, so again, let's start talking about the secondary keystones. So the interesting thing about the secondary keystones is that they come in groups. So right here you can see Malice tracking Hunter. If you get 1 in Malice, you can't get 2 in Malice. In other words, you can't get Cheap Shot and Taste of Blood, all right? And in your primary tree, so the tree that you're getting your keystone in, you can select 1 from each of these. But in your secondary tree, you can only select 1 from 2 of these, all right? Which will make more sense when you actually see the rune pages, all right? But unfortunately, my PBE is bugged right now, and it's not on the live server yet, so we're just gonna have to make do with this web page, all right? So, domination. This is basically if you're going electrocute, because Dark Harvest is not worth it yet, I don't think, but it might later be. If you're going electrocute, you're gonna get 1 from each of these, and if you're not going electrocute, you'll probably get 1 from 2 of these. So the ones that are worth talking about are Cheap Shot, which basically gives you bonus true damage when you damage a champion with impaired movement. So that's nice. We have a ton of stuff for that, especially if we get Rylai's, and it's a low cooldown, 4 seconds, all right? So that being said, the attack that procs it can't be the attack that slows it, I don't think. So again, that shouldn't be an issue for us, because again, if you EW, then you should have the E and the W, or the attack, etc. All right, so that's nice. I'm going to be getting it. I'm not going to be getting Taste of Blood or Sudden Impact ever. Tracking, I'm going to be getting Zombie Ward all the time, okay? So this is nice because it does 2 things, but basically it gives vision. If your ward's expired, you get a zombie ward. If you kill an enemy ward, you get a zombie ward. These don't count towards your ward limit. They last for 3 minutes, and the only downside is that they're visible. So, you're not going to be using it to push forward vision, but it can be kind of nice. Like, I don't know if you remember when blue trinkets came out, but people would just put blue trinkets everywhere. Even though they were easily killed, they can really pollute the map with vision, which is very, very good, and they're kind of a hassle to kill. And I imagine zombie wards are going to function much the same way. So I highly recommend zombie ward, whether you're mid or support. It's going to be a good thing to get. Ghost Poro is kind of cool, but the problem is that you can't control when you do it, and I spend a lot of time in the brush as Zyra, and I don't want a Poro in the brush with me. That's not helpful. I need a Poro somewhere else. I can see in my own brush, okay? And then Eyeball Collection used to be a little tempting when it had Magic Pen, but now it's ability power, and we don't get that many takedowns anyway. Hunter, you're only going to get something in the Hunter if your keystone's domination, and you have to get something in hunter, okay? They're bounty hunter type stacking things with either healing, active item CDR, or out of combat movement speed. I think Relentless Hunter is the best. Out of combat movement speed is the most effective for Zyra out of all of these things, I believe. Because again, it's a stacking thing, so it's something that's going to happen more in the mid and late game and less in the early game. So, you know, healing can be nice in the early game, but the heal is so little that you're not getting anything from it in team fights or poking situations at all. So don't really worry about those. I don't want to talk about precision now because the only time you even get points in these precision... No, let's talk about it. Why not? Let's talk about everything, all right? Just completely bloat this video and hope I finish it before I have to go to work. So so again, I don't recommend going into the precision tree too often. I think it's meant for AD carries. But some of the stuff can be nice. For example, Triumph. Get 15% of missing health and 25 gold when you kill somebody. Can be nice for Zyra mid. You're probably not going to be going into this tree as Zyra support. The other ones are all right as well. This one's kind of cool against, again, since we're going into precision maybe against poking and wave clear mids. Presence of Mind is interesting too, because you get basically whenever you get a kill or gain a level, 5 seconds, your mana costs are basically free. They're not actually free because you still need mana to cost them. They're instantly refunded. So that's kind of cool as well. Legend Bloodline is also kind of interesting. Again, this is like a stacking thing, but it stacks on champion kills and large minion and monster kills. So again, not really great for support. But mid lane, it can be okay. Attack speed, tenacity, or lifesteal. None of these are amazing for Zyra, except lifesteal really can add up over the course of the laning phase. So the Legend Bloodline can really be not awful as Zyra mid. Your last hitting, every time you attack, you're getting the full benefit of lifesteal. So if you had to go into the precision tree, I would recommend Legend Bloodline. Combat, Coup de Grace, I don't know how to say that, and Cut Down are all pretty good. I guess Last Stand could be temporarily, could be situationally okay if you want to get kills after you're dead. But yeah, basically go the first skill if you're trying to assassinate people. Go the second one if you're trying to scale and deal with tanks. 2 more trees to go into the secondary runes, and then we're going to start going into actual builds, actual situations. What should you run with what, and what situations are you going to look for X, Y, and Z, okay? So again, going back to the sorcery tree, you're going to see this a lot. Nullifying Orb is it's basically a Hex Drinker passive that scales with your level and AP, okay? So pretty good if you're worried about AP assassins. Probably better for mid lane, but potentially good in the bot lane if you're against a magic AD carry and a magic support. You could definitely consider going it. This is Artifact actually has 3 good skills for Zyra. Usually there's only 1 or 2 in each category, but all 3 of these are good. Mana Flow Band, is basically a mana sustain thing. You can read it. I'm not going to read it for you. So that can be situationally okay if you find yourself going out of mana, because not only does it give you refund, but it also gives you missing mana as well. So against mid lane when you have to wave clear a lot, or support when you think you're going to be poking a lot, it can be okay. Ultimate Hat is also very, very nice because one of the big things for Zyra, especially as support, is she's a bit cooldown reduction starved. So, and this is most notably noticed in her ultimate, which has a very long cooldown. So this will help deal with that. It's not exceptional, but it's good. All 3 of these are good, and you can run them in various situations, which we can get into later. Excellence. Transcendence is really the thing you're probably going to go all the time here if you're going into this tree. It gives you 10% CDR at level 10, so essentially scaling CDR that you don't benefit from until level 10. But for me, I don't care about cooldown reduction until I'm in the mid and late game anyway, so this is fine for me. I'll be running Transcendence a lot. Celerity is not that great. And Absolute Focus, it takes too long to get going, and it's only when you're full health, so I don't think it's worth it to get those. Transcendence is good. Finally, here's another thing where all 3 are kind of good in their own way. Scorch feels really, really good, especially as support. It helps your burst. It deals bonus magic damage on a 20-second cooldown, which is, I think, very close to what Thunderlords is right now. And so that's very, very nice. And I kind of like that it's delayed. I like delayed damage a little bit because it makes people underestimate how much damage is coming. So that's very good. Water walking is all right. Movement speed and scaling ability power in the river. I don't roam that much, so I'm probably not going to get it. But it can also be helpful for Baron and Dragon fights, which are always in the river. Gathering Storm is a good late game item, or option, but I think it's only worth it for Zyra mid and only when you're trying to scale. I would not recommend getting Gathering Storm as support. You know, you see that 168 AP and you think, oh, that's broken, but you have to get there first. And most games are decided in the first 20 minutes. 8 and 24. Well, in the first 20 minutes, you're getting 0 AP and then 8 AP. So it's only good if you're trying to scale. All right, the last tree that I want to talk about the secondary runes on is the inspiration tree. These are kind of funny. I don't know how good they all are. You can kind of decide them your own. Hextech Flash Traption is funny. You're not going to probably get this as Zyra unless you really like cheesing, which I do, but not enough. It lets you like do a channeled flash when the flash is on cooldown. Biscuit Delivery can be helpful for dealing with difficult poking laning phase, probably more mid than support. And it gives you free potions, which also increase your max mana, which is very nice. The problem is it only lasts until 12 minutes, so it's purely a laning phase rune, and you're not getting any benefit from it after that, outside of, I guess, the total of 160 extra mana, which is actually not bad. Okay. So not as bad as I originally thought. And finally, Perfect Timing gives you, basically gives you a one-time Zhonya's after 6 minutes, and it reduces the cost of building into Zhonya's Hourglass later. So it can be good in situations where you think you're going to get Zhonya's Hourglass. Tomorrow, Magical Footwear. I love Magical Footwear. I love this so much. So not only does it give you free boots at 10 minutes, but it gives you better boots at 10 minutes. Slightly magical boots give you an extra 10 movement speed, which is nice, and they upgrade for cheaper. So it's a good greedy item. I don't get boots early anyway, so it's kind of a neat thing. And whenever I'm going into this tree, I'm probably going to be running Magical Footwear. Futures Market's not really worth it. Minion Dematerializer, you're not going to get that as Zyra. The thing about Future Market is it's a net loss for you. It's like taking a loan, you know. Sure, you can get something early, but you're going to have to pay for it later. So I don't think it's really worth it. You can't borrow enough for it to be a truly greedy early game option. Finally, Cosmic Insight gives you a bunch of basically cooldown reduction on everything you could think needs cooldown reduction. And that's pretty self-explanatory. It's good. Approach velocity we don't care about. And Celestial Body. So you might think, Melyn, you always say Zyra's an early game champion and you want to abuse your early game power. So why would you do this? Why would you sacrifice damage to get health? It's because Zyra has no health, but she's got plenty of damage, okay? So if you're in a lane, this is probably primarily for mid lane, but maybe against like a kill support too. 100 extra health is huge early game, and the penalty goes away after 10 minutes. How often? Well, I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask myself. I'm going to tell you how often. It is so frequent where 100 health would save me and 10% fewer damage would not have hurt me. Okay? 100 health is huge early game, and I think Celestial Body can be a very good choice for Zyra when you're worried about dying. Okay, so those are all of the keystones and secondary runes that Zyra should care about. So I talked about a bunch of them. Let's now kind of switch gears a little bit and lose. Oh dear, you see nothing. Wait, that's the problem. There we go. Okay, so let's I did not prepare as much as I should have. Okay, so let's go into the spreadsheet. Goodness. All right. So this formatting is pretty ugly, to be perfectly honest. And given as I use Excel for my job, this is a little embarrassing. But what I did is I combined all of the keystone masteries up here and all of the secondary masteries down here. And then some color coding is green, means it's better on average than the non-green thing. So I comment a little bit about these other things that I don't really recommend, but you can kind of tell what I think is more valuable. And then over here, I categorize them into poke, burst, scaling, and defensive, and then talk a little bit about these. I'm going to attach this to the video, so if people want to know more of my thoughts, you can do that as well. All right, so again, another thing with terrible formatting is my rune pages. So I made a ton of rune pages initially going on about this. And basically, I'll talk about a couple of them. Not all of them. That would take forever and wouldn't really have much point. So let's just get started and talk about the first page. So support versus sustain. Also, actually, before we even do that, just kind of look down the line on what keystones I'm getting in most situations. I'm only getting electrocute in one situation. Kleptomancy, only in two. Arcane Comet is by far, I think, going to be the best keystone for Zyra in most of these situations. This is not a rune page. This is a blank row. Okay, stop trolling. There's no rune page number 8. So just a couple of these. Let's talk about support versus sustain. So if you're up against like a Soraka or a Nami, poke is not going to help you versus Soraka and versus Nami. You would have to poke your brains out. You'd have to poke a lot, okay, to do anything to their mana pools. Your mana pool is much smaller than theirs, and all you have to do is get caught out once, overextend once, and you're dead, and all of that poking that you did was just gone, all right? Or your AD carry suicide, all the poking you did, just gone. Against sustain, you have two options, to either scale or to kill. And if you kill, you need burst damage. The best burst damage is electrocute, and that's why I'm recommending electrocute if you want to go for the kill option. If you want to go to the scale option, I think Kleptomancy can actually be quite good. Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight both give you a lot of scaling power, and Zombie Ward is a good support skill, can contribute a lot to vision. And Cheap Shot also helps you kill if you actually end up deciding to do that. And then again, if you're going electrocute for the kill pressure, then Scorch is going to be great to add to that extra burst. And Transcendence, the CDR at 10 minutes, is going to be nice to help you scale a little bit. I try to take scaling CDR whenever possible in live. So in this game, in the next patch in Season 8, I'm going to be taking Transcendence fairly frequently, as you can see if you spend a little time looking at this sheet. And then Kleptomancy is good because against sustain lanes, you can get a lot more auto attacks without really getting caught out too much. So you're not punished so much for doing so. Versus engage lanes, usually you want either defense or poke. Okay, so again, we have one page with Arcane Comet. This is poke. Ultimate Hat and Transcendence are scaling. Scorch is going to help you burst. Perfect Timing is going to give you a Zonya's Hourglass at 6 minutes, or a one-time active of the Zonyas at 6 minutes, which can come in handy around when people are hitting levels, or before people are hitting level 6, can help you in your maybe first all-in. And then Magical Footwear is going to be very nice as well in this case. And you can also go Kleptomancy because against these engaged supports, you should be auto-attacking a lot, especially early game. Maybe once they hit level 6, you're not auto-attacking as much because you're probably going to suicide. But this is this rune page number 4 is very, very aggressive. And so be very careful if you're running this. And you also, get the scaling and the burst from Scorch and Transcendence as well. And there's a couple options if you're going versus a safe lane, like an Ezreal, Janna lane, something like that. And Arcane Comet, again, scales the best. It pokes the best. It's what you're going to get as your default. Ultimate Hat and Transcendence again, cooldown reduction on your ultimate, cooldown reduction on everything. Great thing to do if you're trying to scale. And also we want to get a couple things for, you know, in the event that we actually can kill the safe lane, like Scorch and Cheap Shot, I think are quite good. If you want to be more greedy into the scaling lane and scale even more, then you'd go Inspiration as your secondary and get free boots, as well as Cosmic Insight, which gives you that CDR on active items, skills, and other things. If you're going versus a mage support, you want to be able to kill them and you want to be able to survive. Okay, so I recommend Arcane Comet. Again, it's kind of the default. Nullifying Orb, because that's going to help you survive their burst damages. Like this is the free Hex Drinker skill. Transcendence for you to scale. That's the scaling CDR at 10 minutes. Scorch for the damage. Magical Footwear, because it saves you gold and you can spend more of the gold on fighting stats, combat stats rather. And again, Cosmic Insight for more scale, for more CDR basically. A couple mid pages, there could be more, is versus, this is kind of interesting. I don't know whether I'll actually do this, but I wanted to have Glacial Augment on at least one of these pages, so I'll probably try this, and maybe I'll decide that it's terrible, and I'll go Arcane Comet, or maybe I won't. But the reason I didn't really want to take Arcane Comet here is because against these champions, they're just going to dodge the Comet all the time against good players. So that would essentially be wasted in the laning phase and would only really be good for team fighting against the other champions in the game. But Glacial Augment's kind of interesting because you can be auto-attacking these champions, or you should be auto-attacking these champions early, and it can make it a lot easier to land your spells, or if they jump on you, they'll have already be auto-attacked and they'll be slowing over time. So unless, of course, they have that mastery which gives them immunity to slows, in which case this is garbage. So it's just an idea to go this, and the other ones are pretty self-explanatory. I play mid lane a lot more scaling than I do support. I play support very, very aggressive, and I try to win lane, and I don't care about scaling so much as support. But mid lane Zyra, I feel, should focus on scaling more. You can use your early game power, but you're also a very, very competent mid and late game mage. So the other ones, I go Arcane Comet. I feel like most of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. The last thing I want to talk about, okay, is a potential option if you're against a lot of poke, okay? So if you're against something like a Xerath and a Ziggs, you can go Fleet Footwork. That gives you the sustain and the movement speed when you build up 100 stacks. You can get Triumph to give you extra gold and health on champion takedowns. You can get Bloodline for lifesteal. When you're farming with your auto attacks, you're going to get even more sustain. Get Cut Down so you can scale better. This gives you extra damage against big tanks. Gathering Storm, you're scaling, you're going to get a bunch of ability power with this build. Transcendence, you're scaling, you're going to get 10% CDR at level 10. Maybe it's terrible, maybe it's not, all right? So these are some of my pages, and if you have any questions about anything, you should stop by my stream, you should hang out in my Discord, ask the questions. I'll try to answer as many as possible. But these are the basics that you need to know for runes. And I think basically, if this is too much information, just pick something that's green, okay? If it sounds good, it's probably good if it's green. Otherwise, probably don't want to use your best judgment unless your judgment is really good. So last thing, I want to talk about two more things, kind of as far as items are concerned. A lot of people say, hey, they're taking away magic penetration runes. Are we not going to be building magic pen anymore? So I spent some time thinking about it. Something, I don't know if you know, but they are buffing Sorc Shoes. They are going to be giving 18 magic pen instead of 15. Also, enemies are losing their magic resist runes. Okay, so most champions are going to start the game with 30 magic resistance, or all champions. I don't think all champions. Most champions are going to start with 30 magic resistance. All 80 carries are going to start with 30 MR. So again, you can still do true damage if you get Sorcs and Haunting Guys. So stacking magic pen is still a very viable option, and probably the best thing to do if your opponents are not building magic resist. Also, Void Staff is buffed to ignore 40% up from 35%. So penetration is still good. The thing that might change, because I don't think item builds are going to be changing for Zyra really, is CDR might be more important. You can get 15% CDR by level 10, depending on what secondary runes you take. But in certain matchups, that might not really be viable. So I'm thinking that we might see more cooldown reduction built out of Zyra mid. So this could come from Lucidity Boots, Morellonomicon, Banshee's Veil, Zanya's Hourglass. These are all good options, and that might happen. So probably only for mid lane. I don't think you really should be building that much CDR as Zyra support. CDR really only helps you in mid and late game team fights, whereas Zyra support, I believe, is primarily a lane-focused poke kill support. So that's pretty much it for all of this stuff. It was kind of long-winded and a lot of extraneous information, tons of bad formatting, but I wanted to give a platform for me to give my initial thoughts. Again, all this stuff is going to change. They're going to change the numbers around. Preseason's a crazy time, but this should get you set for the beginning of preseason and give you the tools that you need to kind of at least start off not sucking. Okay, so hopefully it's helpful. I'll be updating this video. I'll be updating my guide as patch changes come out. So keep track of those. Again, the best ways to follow this stuff is following me on Twitter, chilling on my Discord, and just looking at the announcements thing, or just asking me on stream. On stream, I try to answer as many questions as possible. So hope this helps. I think I've talked about pretty much everything. My apologies for the slightly extra disorganized format of this video, but I really wanted to get this content out there, and I really don't have as much time as I used to. So I figured any content is better than no content. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you like this awesome shirt. Have a good day, and may your enemies feel the thorn's embrace.